Hi, I'm Will Cedric.
I'm Gabe.
And this is Inside the Bot. Hey Gabe.
How you doing? You alright?
I'm good.
You were up late last night.
I'm always up late last night.
That's like up late last night, but afternoon in Utah. And that's going to come in a little bit.
Exactly. I was talking to my Utahese friends.
Utahese? Is that it?
Oh, yeah.
Utahese. So,
I
anyway.
hold a lot of clout with the Utahese people.
They're a very dry race. There's not much water. I always often think of them as like the sand people. But...
Well, that's racist.
No, it's a desert. And they're probably... Or they're like the people from Dune.
Don't know.
And they eat a lot of spice. But anyway, we're going to hear from one of the Utahese people. You nearly spat your tea out there. And we're going to hear from them in a little bit. But let's not messing about with stupidity as we normally do. You are excited.
Right, so inside the shop. What have you been up to?
Oh, do you know what? So obviously, last time I didn't have anything for Inside the Shop. Because I was here. But this week...
you were here. You were here for Robot Wars.
Yeah, but not for Inside the Shop.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, Inside the Shop, I've got a featherweight fighting thing coming up at the Insomnia Games event, and I looked at my robot Legion, and it was looking a bit tired. So I thought to myself, that needs to be completely stripped down, polished, every nut bolt put back together again. So that's what's happening there.
Yeah.
So that will come to, that's going to be ready, and that's just a pile of parts at the moment.
Any real improvements or just rebuilding?
No, there's going to be a few improvements for that. I think we're going to see a much more powerful flipper.
Oh, okay.
Because I think I've worked out how to make it a little bit more dinky. So
Lovely.
That's going to be exciting. So over the next week, that's what I'll be rebuilding Legion.
Excellent. News.
What have we got?
So much news. Your little weapons test has gone out.
Oh yes, the death hum.
Yeah, your attempted death hum.
No, actually, if you listen to the last 10 seconds, there is actually the hum there.
There's you going,
No, we didn't do that. It was actually, I maintain there is a death hum happening there. And do you know what, though? When it happens, you just turn it off straight away because it's far too scary. And you think, what have we done? What happens if it explodes? So, Will Bales, when he gets really nervous, I'm the same. So I just went, no, we're not doing any more. And Rob wants to go, keep on going, move it up. And I went, no, that's enough.
Of course he does. Rob's a pioneer.
No, he's not. He's just nuts.
You're a scaredy pants.
No, I'm safety first. Rob, he's like, let's go, let's wind it up as fast as you can. But no, there you go. So restrain yourselves, and I know that it's there. It's fast enough. It's going to do the job.
Excellent. Other news, BattleBots is taking a little break.
BattleBots is taking a break because of what?
It's tired.
No, it's not. Don't say that, because it's not. It's getting a lot of good viewers. Yeah. It's getting a lot of high volume of viewers.
Kenny's knackered. He's had to.
Kenny
Florian, he's tired.
No, he doesn't get tired.
And Chris, he's knackered
Do you
as well.
Look at Kenny's ears? There's a dude on the train who's a cage fighter, and he's got massive ears. And I often stare at them.
Has Kenny got those?
But Kenny doesn't really have them. I don't think. He may have had some work done on them.
Ear surgery.
I
don't think so. I think he's just got beautiful ears. Maybe they were even nicer looking before the fighting.
Yeah, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, apparently, according to what we learnt this time. I don't think it's high enough for a cage fighting. Probably should be like 9th Dan or something.
Well, she didn't mention his Dans, but...
What?
I don't think she had time to get into the Dans.
How many Dans he's had?
Yeah.
Don't, honestly, because he'll come and kick your ass.
Kick you? I didn't say anything.
You're the one who's saying he's going out with the bloke.
I said he had lovely ears.
That was me. No, I said the ears. Right, forget what we're doing.
You said he had horrible ears.
Why is he even in the news? He's not. Stop it. Right, stop
it. You put the news. So BattleBots is taking 2 weeks
because of the
off.
Olympics.
Because of the bloody Olympics.
Yeah, which is so annoying.
Oh, I've got to run around the track. So you haven't got an hour to fit in a bit of BattleBots. No, you have.
Well, no, because every bugger will be watching the Olympics and not watching BattleBots, won't they? So you're going to get furious. And to be honest, as soon as BattleBots and robot fighting is a proper recognised Olympic sport, I'm going to boycott the entire Olympics. I'm not watching any of it.
You know what else is going on in Brazil?
What?
Some awesome robot building.
There is some amazing
which is evident in this episode of BattleBots!
Right, anyway, so we got some more news. We got Inside the Bot t-shirts coming.
Yes.
Haven't we?
But we've got them coming. No one else has.
No. Listen, team out there, right? There's loads of you. We've got Inside the Bot t-shirts. We're going to unbox them when we get them or unwrap them. And then why not everyone wants an Inside the Bot t-shirt? They can buy them.
Well, if they're actually any good,
Well, no, we'll be fine. Look, we're just going to have a little dude on the front, and that's going to be perfect. Anyway, that's the news. Is that the news?
I think so.
That's enough news.
Cool. So, BattleBots.
BattleBots.
They had an episode this week.
They did.
Do you know who was in it?
I do. Now, before we get onto this episode, I had a really bad, and I'm not joking, a very tingly stomach before this episode.
Okay.
I had anticipation.
We did have that burrito.
And we won't get into that because we had that weird conversation about that burrito.
Let's not talk about burritos.
We agreed never to mention it again.
Okay.
When you just hold a burrito in your hand, to see what you feel. No. So leave it. No. So
Stop it.
You've lost me my thread. What were we going to say? Oh,
you
yes.
had a jippy tummy.
Yeah, jippy tummy. No, well, not. I didn't have any toilet problems. What I'm saying here is I had a mixture of dread and anticipation and excitement all at the same time in my tummy. And that's what really caused me to come up with the name of today's Inside the Bot.
Is it excitement?
No, it is. And I'm going to put my hand on my heart and go, goodbye, special chums.
Goodbye, special chums.
Oh, we loved having you on Inside the
Goodbye,
Bot.
special chums.
Why was
Ian, Lewis and Willie Bales. Goodbye, special chums.
So that's going to come clear. Obviously,
The single's out this month. Goodbye, special chums.
I like it, actually.
Support for Warhead's Season 3 application.
Yeah.
All proceeds will go towards Inside the Bot.
No, not anything else.
No, because I was thinking we could fund Warhead and Hypershock's return, but ABC's got that covered.
I think they would be crazy not to have them back because they are powerful. And they made me proud, actually, the pair of them. I got a bit tearful, actually. And we'll get into that later on. Anyway, so...
You know who else is on this episode?
Who?
Jerome.
He's not from New Zealand, is he?
No.
So
I called him Jermaine before, though.
You've been watching way too much Flight of the Conchords.
Jermaine.
So... band meeting. So anyway, stop that. He's called Jerome. He's Utanese. And he's going to be telling us about his bot.
He's going to tell us about it now, actually.
Oh, Jerome!
Jerome, come out here. Tell us about your robot.
Yeah, we're going to get into
and your fights before this episode.
Go.
Hello, this is Jerome.
Hi, it's Will from Inside the Bot.
Hey there.
Right. So I thought what we'd talk about today, the design and build of your robot. I always want to say the wrong robot for you. I always want to say Razorback instead of Red Devil. Is it just me?
No, I'm not as cool as Zach. No, they're similar robots even a little bit. You know, there was definitely some inspiration.
I think it's just the colour. I think I'm that simple. Red Devil, I have to get that into my head. Sorry. Big sorry, in fact. So yeah, design.
Well, and the robot had a name change. It was hyperactive for a while. And then it switched to Red Devil right before the season was filmed. Mostly because the network didn't like the hyperactive name.
Yeah, I've heard they changed a few names.
Yeah, I think they requested more than they got changed too. But we really weren't too attached to it, and so we went with it. And now it's grown on me. I actually like the Red Devil name better.
Okay, cool. So where did the design process start with Red Devil?
So the design process for Red Devil started probably. Well, I've always built grab and lift robots historically, and I've done that mostly at the 60-pound scale because I can pick that size of robot up and carry it around and put it in the trunk of a car, and it's really convenient to travel with. So I've never really done the heavyweight stuff until recently. But so I've tried to build a couple spinners recently, and they've all turned out terrible. And so when I saw BattleBots was coming back on the air again for season 1, I knew I wanted to go kind of back to my old style and do a grab and lift type robot. And so I designed something that kind of resembles Red Devil and applied to season 1 with it.
Yeah, I've seen it. And so it looks kind of like Red Devil, but without the top grabbing bit. Is that right? It's kind of a lifter on the bottom.
Probably the biggest change was that it didn't have treads. and it wasn't like a modular style robot. It was kind of a square body with four wheel drive, and then the arm in Red Devil can spin all the way around. And in this one, it couldn't. It was linear actuator driven. It was like 90 degrees, from down to up was what it could do. So, but the claws and the forks and stuff, and there was a saw on it. So I applied with that. Oh, and it had a flamethrower too. The first season application. I tried just putting everything on, and they said they wanted crazy robots, and so I was like, what can I stick in one robot? And applied. Ended up, they gave me a maybe, and then it turned into a no by the end of the application process. And so I ended up kind of thinking about it for the next several months on what I would do to change it, because I really wanted to do a robot like that. But how could I change it to make it so BattleBots would want to accept it?
Okay.
And so I took the crazy stuff that I'd already done, threw away the boring, boxy stuff, and then came up with the idea to throw treads on it, build it so the arm could spin all the way around, and it kind of just went from there.
Was treads a functional decision, or do you just like them, think they're cool?
In the beginning, the treads were aesthetic. I wanted to make it different. I knew a lot of people were going to be doing wheels, and BattleBots likes variety. So I went with treads, and then as I started designing it, they actually became more important, because if I took the same pods I have now and put wheels on it, there wouldn't be room for any of the electronics or anything. The sprockets that drive the treads are actually much smaller than the wheel would have had to have been.
Yeah. And
so it left more room in there, because one thing I wanted the design to have is the tread pods to be completely self-contained.
Yeah.
And so there's not much room in between the two sprockets and in between the rotating tread. I've got this little tiny area. And so as I was thinking about it, I knew that some builders from season 1 had built modular drivetrains, and I even entertained that for a while about having like a wheel pod and a tread pod.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out how to do it with wheels. There wasn't enough room. It kind of became more important.
Yeah.
as the design went on. Nice. And the nice thing about the treads was it actually replaces some of your armor, because the tread links are titanium. They basically have this armored area around the tread pod. I really only had to armor the sides of it.
They definitely look like
if I had done wheels, I would have had to do something else.
I mean, they're really strong. Yeah, it's pretty evident in your fight from last night.
Yeah, they took a good hit last night. That was a good test. Really, for the whole robot, I thought if it was going to take a hit like that, I really thought the thing was going to split in half.
Yeah.
Because you have these two massive tread pods, and then you have this. I mean, it's big, but it's little by comparison to the rest of the robot. This little shaft that connects the two tread pods together. It's a 2-inch titanium shaft, basically, that goes across the back and holds the two tread pods together. And that I figured that's where it was going to break if Bronco got under there and launched it by a tread pod, or if I got hit by a spinner like that.
I mean, 2-inch titanium, that's pretty thick, though.
It's pretty thick, but it still is bolted on. I did a little splined coupling and have it inset into a counterbore in the tread pod, but it's pretty incredible, the forces of a 250-pound robot getting thrown in the air.
Yeah.
And landing. That's a lot of force on that little shaft.
So your weaponry on your robot. Am I right in thinking you've got do you have a wedge? Is that what I heard? As well as the normal configuration?
We had a plow that we could stick on there. Basically, the grabbing claws, there's 2 claws. They're independently actuated. And there's 2 motors, 2 ball screws, 2 claws. And that whole assembly ended up weighing about 35 pounds.
Okay.
And so when we were looking at the robot and thinking of how we could fight horizontal spinners, because that was really our worst nightmare. If we had been put against a really nasty horizontal spinner, especially a full body spinner where there was nothing to grab, we had to have something. Depending on where we were in the tournament. If it happened early in the tournament, we probably still would have ran as configured, because we probably would have lost anyway. So we wanted people to see the actual robot we brought.
Yeah.
But we wanted something just in case. So we did build this really heavy 35-pound plow that could replace the grabbing claws. So we still maintained the saw, the actuated saw, so the arm and the blade. and then the whole body could still rotate and lift.
And we never saw that, did we?
And I think we have a picture of it somewhere existing in that configuration, because we briefly toyed with it before the Witch Doctor fight. So we had to rebuild the whole robot anyway after the Rex fight, and so we threw it on just to see if it even fit, because we'd actually never done a fit up with it before. And we looked at it for a while, and then we had an internal fight as a team, and I ended up winning because I was a team captain, and we took the plow off.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good decision in the end.
Yeah, it worked out. I did not expect it to go that way, so
no.
I felt justified, and my team members were like, "Oh, this guy knows what he's talking about," I guess. But I really didn't. It was really it could have gone either way pretty easily.
You've got one in the bank for future arguments,
future decisions.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, well, he did make that amazing decision before." So, yeah, but you've uncovered yourself now.
Yep.
Oh, I hope they don't listen to Inside the Bot. No one does anyway. It's fine. So, your BattleBots experience this time around, you had a pretty good run of it, I'd say.
Yeah, I was happy. I really only thought we would maybe win, one match if we were lucky, and so winning a couple and getting to the top 16 was great, especially for a robot that has so many parts in it, and we had never driven it until safety check-in. As far as the whole thing together,
you beat Witch Doctor.
Yes.
Which is, no mean feat.
We did do that. It was quite surprising to both teams, I think. It took them a while, I think, to accept that it had happened, which is understandable, because and they admitted it. They had completely underestimated our robot. They were sure they were moving on.
It was hard to know the power of your robot after that first fight, because you did rather have an opponent that ran into walls.
With Rex?
Yeah. Just ran headfirst into a wall.
Right off the bat, I didn't even... We kind of had actually talked about what we wanted to do, us and the Rex team, to kind of put on a good show. And so we had talked about it, and then the second the match started, all of a sudden they were upside down and shooting across the arena, and everything went out the window that we had planned on doing to make it look cool. But... We wanted to have the match have more action in it than that, and so we actually went on to attack them anyway and helped them flip back up. And we ended up. I don't know if it was us or just the banging around the arena, but it was kind of hard to tell from that match. But they were actually mobile for a while, and when we had grappled them and started pushing them around and slamming them into walls, their chain that tilted the body broke. And so the robot was immobile at that point. They could spin up their blade, but without being able to wobble the body back and forth, they couldn't move. They couldn't translate.
It was a shame. It would have been nice to see it walk around a bit more.
Yeah, I was actually excited to see it walk around, and I think that they made the body rotate a little faster than last season. That was the only big change I could see, and so I think that they didn't know what would happen if they tilted the body that fast, and it just flipped.
It's one of those robots you've only really seen perform on the YouTube videos they post of it performing.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that's still a little scary. That would be a scary robot to test. So
yeah. I mean, based on your fight, definitely.
Yes.
I'd be worried it's going to turn and run at me. So, yeah, I mean, Rex was quite an easy fight. And then Witch Doctor, I'd say, you were a bit scared before that?
Yeah, we were pretty sure we were done after that. They gathered everybody into the room at BattleBots, to announce the fights for the first round. And when they read us with Witch Doctor, I was like, well, I guess they're done with us. They're sacrificing our robot. That's fine. We built it for this. I've been around the block a few times, and I hardly ever bring a working robot home. So
yeah. How did you feel when they didn't have their wedge on the front and they had Shaman instead?
I was pretty sure that they were going to do that. I did play some head games with them before the match and tell them how awful Red Devil was, and how saws don't cut any. Could never. You could never. I mean, I already knew because I've lost to a saw before, but and they told me that my messing around with them had absolutely no influence on them using Shaman or not, and that I believe that because I think that they really didn't think they needed that plow. It's more for spinners.
Yeah.
I don't know how close their plow gets to the floor, and that's something that we actually struggle with, as you saw in our last fight. If somebody has a really good plow, we have to get under people to dominate them.
Yeah.
And so I think Witch Doctor's plow was more of just kind of a blade stopping plow and not so much a scoop type plow. So
Okay.
I wasn't too worried either way. If they had the plow on the front, that's just not the side that I would have gone for.
Yeah,
it was kind of stupid. It was stupid to go for the front anyway, just because that's where their weapon is, obviously. But it's just how it worked out, and ended up working out perfectly.
That was amazing. Just like cut through, and their lipos are right there.
Yeah, it was one of their lipo packs that was up there in the front. We probably cut into it about half an inch is all, but that's all that it took. Basically, our saw was dragging aluminum chips through the lipo, and
it doesn't take much.
It took it a little while to actually catch. It would have been more entertaining if they had some ferrous armor that actually was sparking, because then we would have probably seen some flames too.
Oh well, we can dream. Season 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super smashing awesome from Jerome.
Amazing.
What a guy.
Amazing. So, do you know what I love about Jerome and what made me so excited, right?
Yeah.
Because he fell victim to a sawbot in exactly the same way as he did Witch Doctor.
Did he?
Yes, he had a tiny bot. His little bot was attacked with a saw. He had a spinner, right? Attacked with a saw on the exact same side with the exact same thing, and he caught his lipos on fire. And honestly,
He's got redemption.
He's got redemption. It is a beautiful karma, if you believe in that sort of
To
thing.
take out Witch Doctor.
Amazing.
Should we talk about the fights in this episode then?
Yep, let's go. Let's go for it.
So we had Warhead against Minotaur.
Yeah.
Warhead made the choice of having the spinner rather than the head,
Do you think they would choose anything else?
the T-Rex head. Well, I don't know. I mean, if you've got the T-Rex head, maybe just keep on them, keep it in the clamp. It'd be kind of like a Yeti versus Lockjaw fight.
Yeah. I don't think they'd have much chance of winning though, would they? With the big head. That's very much a different type of, like Ian said before, it's like a different type of head. It's like a sort of show thing, isn't it, really? This one you've really got to, they got the Warhead had the new drive in the drum. They had all of that stuff going for them. Do you want? This is what made me feel really nervous. I was super worried about Warhead going up against Minotaur.
Why?
Because I love Warhead, and I know Minotaur is a brute of a robot. And
Minotaur does destroy everything we love.
it does.
A moment's silence for Blacksmith.
Blacksmith, rest in peace, buddy.
He'll be back.
No, of course he will, and he'll be actually furious this time, and he's going to pound. But Warhead's going to be back as well. Now let's talk about the fight.
Okie doke.
I think everyone knows what happened, but
I mean, Warhead, amazing. It beat him. Destroyed him.
He didn't. Minotaur. There was a bit of scuffling. There was an initial hit. It spun round, and then and I've watched this back and forth. An almighty bang, and Warhead's head goes. It must go 10 feet in the air, spinning round.
Don't make me sad.
I know. I've got to tell you. You need to explain for the viewers. It spins up, and then it crashes down like a lost mushroom.
And it goes around like a hockey puck.
It does, like a big hockey puck.
I did enjoy that.
Now, at this point, then Minotaur goes for it again and rips off a panel off the front of Warhead, and you see its wheel exposed. I've never seen so much inside the bot of Warhead before.
No, it was filthy.
It was dirty, wasn't it? Right through its innards. We're looking at poking out. Now, at this point, I actually shouted at the television because you know Ray Billings, right? Well, you know he likes to play with the little bits of stuff in the arena.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I was on the edge of fury, because if those Brazilian chaps, as nice as they have, I thought they're going to go for that. They're going to go for the head, and they're going to worry it. And that would have broken me. I would have been furious, and I think it would have affected my thoughts on Brazil.
But I don't think, as a country, I don't think even Ray He wouldn't go for the head, would he, of Warhead?
I'm going to say, I'm hoping Ray wouldn't.
Ray just kind of picks off little bits that
He has
fall
little
off.
small pieces.
They're already knackered.
But if you touch the head, for me, that would have been wrong.
It would have been super filthy.
It would have been dirty, and when the roboteer, they'd have gone like that. No, slow hand clap for that, because that would have been rude. But he didn't. He's lucky he didn't.
He's lucky.
He turned on it. He thought about it. I guarantee he thought about it, and then he thought, respect the head.
Always respect.
Always respect the head.
Because that is super spendy.
It is spendy. And do you know what? Simon, Ian, Van, I was so proud. I was proud to live in the same country as them. I was proud to be British.
They did well this year.
They did amazingly. And honestly, I was filled with a surge of pride for them.
And all they've done in this season is given us amazing fights to watch.
What can be better?
Even went out with a bang.
Went out with a bang. They've given us some awesome stuff. And do you know what? I'm just so excited that I'm from the same country as them.
And Minotaur, a very clinical beast, but what a beast.
What a beast. What a beast. An amazing beast. So...
To tear the head off Warhead.
I know.
Who's it going up against next?
I don't know. Oh, is it Bronco?
Yes. I want to say it is.
Yeah, Bronco's going to launch him.
Is that how you see that going?
Yeah.
What about the wheels?
He's got loads.
Is he going to have the thing around the edge of the wheels?
No, Bronco. He just goes full. Well, we don't know. I'm talking about the future. It's like I know. I don't know anything. Are we doing the next fight?
Let's go on to the next fight before you start telling us what happens in the future.
Another one. Another special chum.
Goodbye, special chum.
This is another one that made me get so furious.
So this was shoot that poison arrow
like that.
against Hypershock.
What I'd like to say here at this point, Poison Arrow team, if you're out there, okay, what does the tail do?
Now I very nearly had an interview with Poison Arrow.
What
I
happened?
very nearly caught them. We were like ships in the night. We crossed by each other.
Did you actually contact them?
Well, I was out last night.
You got destroyed.
I didn't get destroyed.
What did you do?
Beer. I went to a show.
You're going to too many shows at the moment.
You know me.
It's your girlfriend. She started making you go, let's go to the theatre.
Oh, I liked it.
Robot fighting's what we do. We don't do the theatre, do we?
I liked it.
Oh, off to the theatre. What did you watch?
Stop bullying me.
What did you watch?
It was Groundhog Day.
Did it go on and on and on?
Yeah, it was really good.
It was just the same play every 5 minutes.
Because they changed little bits and then things changed and it went into a dark place and then it came back to a light place and the music was really good. It was musical.
Okay. What about Punxsutawney Phil?
Well, he's
Did you know who that is?
He's the groundhog.
Yeah. Was he called Punxsutawney Phil?
Yeah.
That's good. Was he a real groundhog?
No, it was like a... I don't want to spoil the show for anyone to go and see it. It's just
I don't agree with taxidermy.
It's a little puppet, wasn't it?
You know how I feel about taxidermy.
Alright, we'll move on.
Yeah, let's move on from that. Stop messing about.
So I knew we had an interview with Poison Arrow.
But we didn't.
But we passed like ships in the night.
Poison
So
Arrow.
I think we'll have him back another time.
We will. We want to talk to you, Poison Arrow. And that tail, I'm just flummoxed by it. I'm flummoxed. I thought it was magnetic, but it never seems to be attached.
What if that is the tail of the tape?
What, you mean it records it all? Do you think it talks to Will Bales on the tail of the tape and tells him what happened?
Will Bales.
What does it sound like? Does he sit with the tail and hold it?
It kind of just flaps.
And
it doesn't talk or anything, it just flaps.
And he then
interprets that.
He interprets that.
Yeah.
Does he hold it, grip it with his hand?
He doesn't hold the tail. He never holds the tail.
Just
it's like a cat. He never...
Yeah, but if you go around the base, you know that there's the little...
We're getting on to burritos again, aren't we?
We are. Just hold one, someone.
Stop it.
Hold a burrito.
Stop it.
Just after you get it and feel it and just see what you think. Anyway, Poison Arrow. No. What does the tail do?
We'll never know. Well, we might know.
Hypershock.
Put a little wedge on, did he? He did.
He loved the wedge though, and I love the fact that he went, I've got a wedge. And he hid it.
A wedge.
But it wasn't a wedge. He wasn't ploughing with it, was he? He had it on his thing and it was a tactical wedge. Do you think Greg would be furious with that type of wedge?
No.
Not at all, because he's still got his active weapon. Got his rake.
Greg loves a wedge anyway. He's got La Machine.
Oh, La Machine. A classic wedge.
Quality wedge.
But La Machine is not really wedge because it's actually more like a skate ramp.
Like black ice.
No. La Machine would take black ice every time.
Did La Machine have a weapon?
No, it didn't need one. It was a La Machine.
Roadblock.
What?
It's like Roadblock.
No! Roadblock was not like Roadblock.
What an
Roadblock
amazing machine.
No. Roadblock was a bit of oil can and a bloody Roadblock sign which was stolen. It's not stolen goods on Roadblock.
Okay.
We don't talk about it. Anyway, back to the fight.
What happened?
Again, do you know what? I was so tense about this fight.
They had
Poison
the rape
arrow,
on as well.
big drum spinner. Do you know? I really wanted to see that drone utterly destroyed. Poison arrow. They have the initial. They drive into each other, don't they?
Yep.
And there's an initial huge bang. And Hyper, he's taking it to him. He's teaching the young pup all about what it's like to feel the world of pain, isn't he? He's giving him some drum, he's giving it to him, and then, it stops.
Who are you talking about at this point?
I'm talking about Mr.
You're
Bales.
saying Mr. Bales is taking it to the young pup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will Wells isn't the young pup. This is the poison arrow.
It's very hard because he looks like a young pup.
Yeah, he is a pup, but this poison arrow is a pup.
And he's older than Will Bales.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yep, no, but I'm talking about experience.
Okay.
Will Bales was like, I'm sure his mum and dad were robots. They gave birth in the robot arena. That's what happened. That's how he is a robot. He's born in it. His hands are they can hold a spanner. Because they're shaped for holding a spanner.
Okay.
I'm sure that's the truth.
He was in the robo womb.
Yeah, he had it all around him. I bet they played robot
There was
sounds.
no amniotic fluid, he was just in engine oil.
He was like in engine oil, and that's how he came out. And stop it. Right, and so then they get a breakage, don't they?
A big time breakage.
A huge breakage.
Now there's pictures all over Facebook of some filthy drum breakage.
Oh, it is a supreme cracking on that drum, isn't it? And I guess that drum now, they know how long it lasts for. Because it's got a shelf life. So it's got a shelf life of about probably 8 fights, maybe, if it's the original drum from before.
So let's talk about the damage on the drum.
Yeah.
From that hit.
Split all the way through. Now I believe it probably hit one tooth and the other tooth carried on spinning and it cracked the drum across. An amazing amount of hitting.
A whole section came out of that drum.
It just pulled it out of it.
And it bent the shaft.
It bent the shaft, yeah.
Which was made out of...
Steel. Hardened steel.
Now what do they need to make it out of instead?
Well, no, steel's the way forward, but I was actually surprised at how thin it was.
Okay.
That was my thing. And it caused me to go back and check my own drum and shaft. And just so I got the fear of it, I had to go and look at my own. And I discovered that mine's double the thickness of
I
this.
think everyone ran to check their shaft after that.
Everyone gripped their shaft and held it and went, is it really going to break off? But then he carried on giving it to him, didn't he?
Carried on giving it to him.
Giving it.
Good old Billy didn't give up.
No, he's a fighter and he drives like a beast demon.
A beast demon.
And you noticed? What did you notice?
Carry on.
He didn't lose any wheels until
he was already immobilised.
Exactly. Now that's what made me a bit furious on that one, because he was immobilised. Okay, the batteries had actually gone on that on the drive there. So Mr. Poison Arrow, what does he do? He goes, I'm going to give him a little bit of love, and he drives into him.
Not only that, he was so poor with his hits before he finally took the wheel. He just like rammed into his armoured behind.
Why would you? We were watching and he just drove into the strongest part of Hypershock that he could get.
Like a couple of times. It's not like it was just once.
Now, also, one of the... Just going back a little bit, one of the Hypershock team, they go, what's he counting for? Like that.
Oh, yeah.
Willie Bales, who's super concentrating, he's holding it and he goes... And one of the team goes, what's he counting for? Like, one of the Poison Arrow team's going to count and then come and twat them one next to them in the fighting thing. And Willie Bales goes, they're counting up their drum time. He's so focused, he knows exactly what's happening in all of that fight. So
I did like that.
He had to calm the team down a bit because they were getting over.
He's a captain though.
You need your captain to be calm.
If I had to make a ship out of BattleBots competitors,
yeah.
Well, no. If you had to, who would you pick?
What, as the captain?
You have to do
I'm the captain.
Star Trek style.
What do you mean?
You're not a BattleBots competitor.
What?
You never have been, never will be.
I'm going to be one next week. What are you talking
Who would you
about?
pick?
What? So
You've got to make a ship.
I'm the ship. Who do I just own the ship and then lease it out to someone so they take it?
You own a Star Trek style ship, but you're like a general.
So okay, that's cool. So who would be my captain?
Yeah.
Well, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Really.
Is it?
Mr. Will Bales. He's going to be my captain.
He's very Kirk-like.
He's got that quality, hasn't he? I'd like to see him with a lady or man, depending on what his. I don't want to judge him. I don't know him well enough, but I'd say that he'd be very smooth, very caring, but also when he's under pressure, he doesn't mess about.
Who's his number 2?
Who's his? No, that's an interesting question. I would go with.
Do you know what? I think we can come back to this.
So okay, that's fine.
We're going to BattleBots ship.
Yep, for the BattleBots ship. We're going to stop
Captain
doing that now.
Will Bales.
We're going to stop doing that now, and we're going to get on to the next fight.
Fight 3. Red Devil
B Bombshell
against Bombshell. Now let's hear from Jerome.
He's the best person to talk about this. Bombshell with a new configuration. Jerome,
Come on out here.
tell us all about it.
I think he'd be on engineering for me.
It's my shit. Anyway, shut up, Jerome.
So should we get on to the big fight last night?
I guess we can talk about that.
Well, you sound sad, but I think you put up a good fight.
Yeah, it was a little bit bad. I knew that Mike was a really good driver, and I did underestimate their wedge a little bit. Wedges, really low floor scraping wedges, have not done well in the battle box because the seams, especially that late in the tournament, the seams are getting really bad. And so when I saw that on there, I'm like, those guys are going to have the hardest time even driving around with that plow on there. And somehow it just magically floated. The way they had it attached to the robot was actually with some rubber, like bumpy standoff things.
Okay.
And when they set the robot down, you could actually see the plow like lift up. Like it was pressed against the floor.
So you really could not
ended
get
up being
under that.
super effective. Yeah, I think we had our forks on our robot were definitely not optimized for scooping a plow like that. We had these kind of probably 2-inch wide tips on each of our fork, and they would get damaged, just from driving around on the battle box floor, and they would lose their sharp edge pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so and it's kind of the stack up tolerance in the whole assembly too, right? Between these two forks touching the ground, the odds of them both touching perfectly and everything is just not very good. And so the way that Mike's plow was just sucked to the floor and it kind of moved with the angles and things on the floor, there was just no getting under that thing.
No, it seemed very frustrating. I mean, after that first hit that they had on you, their weapon was completely done, right?
Yeah, basically they had a battery pack in there that was spinning the weapon. From what I understand, they had a connector on that battery that was a direct solder type of connector. Mm-hmm. And the power surge from when they hit us melted the solder and the connector just fell off the battery.
Wow.
And it just killed it. And the saddest part for us about that match, no offense to Mike, because he did kick our butts the whole time.
Yeah, he was on.
It was very one-sided. But one thing they didn't mention was that his robot actually was dead for the last 3 or 4 seconds of that match. It had died, and his drive batteries had the same thing happen to them that his weapon battery had. Basically, they overheated. The wires desoldered. And so I remember walking into the battle box, and Mike was like, when we're shaking hands and everything and saying good fight, he told me, my robot's dead. He's like, I don't know what happened to it. I'm glad the match ended right then, kind of thing.
So you'll be positioning for 3-minute and 6-second long battles.
Well, it probably would have taken 20 more seconds for them to notice it wasn't moving,
sure.
and then to count them out. It's a pretty long period of time that they've got to ask you if you can move first and stuff like that. But it really showed how much power he was using in that match to be desoldering the wires from these giant lipo packs. His robot was amazingly powerful.
It was really zipping about in that match.
Yeah, and I had actually never seen it move like that, because in his previous fights, he never, like in the complete control fight when he ran his axe, basically he didn't, complete control was just always under him. And he never really got a good push or ram into them because he was always scooped up on their lifting forks. And then in their Cobalt fight, that was more of a, surgical match where he was lifting the blade the perfect height and then cutting the wheels. And so we had never actually seen that robot drive much before that match in the tournament. So it was a surprise to us how well it drove.
Is there anything you can see in your head that you could do differently in that fight? Or I
think that match is 75% of the time their match, no matter how many times we fight it, if we kept fighting the robots the way they were. Because we need to figure out a way. We have two problems. One, we need to figure out how to scoop wedges.
Yeah.
Our forks were completely ineffective. We had a couple of times where we hit head on, and every time we just rode right up. Yeah. And the rest of the time, he just kept it pointed at us. So he played his cards really well and just kept it pointed at us when we were on top of him. Then he would become aggressive and slam us into the wall. And so it worked really well in his favor. And then our body needs to be able to spin faster to self-right.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually discovered something in that match about Red Devil. It can only self-right in one direction. If I spin the body one way, it'll stay upside down forever. And we didn't know that.
Okay.
And it was a hard lesson to learn because the first time I got flipped, I was spinning it the wrong way. And so the treads rotated around a couple of times, and we weren't going upright. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing ever because I know it can self-right. And so I decided to spin the treads the other way, and we were upright very quickly after that. And I just hadn't realized the dynamics of the body will keep it upside down if you go the wrong way.
Well, I am definitely going to have to rewatch the fight now. Not
So
right now, but I'm going to be looking out for that.
I'm going to be putting up a YouTube video later, actually, on the Red Devil Facebook page, too, showing it's trying to self-right in one direction.
So what did he say about this fight? I can't really remember.
You're going to have to edit all of this bit out.
Of course I am. You don't realise I have to do this every week.
I know you
have to tell me I have to edit something out. But in my head, I've edited it out already.
Okay. But you don't
editing you out as we speak.
You don't do that sometimes.
Because sometimes
you
it's funnier to leave it in.
Of course. This bit probably will get left in now.
I'm going to leave this whole thing in of us just chatting about forgetting what he said about the fight. What did he say about the fight?
I haven't got a clue. Let's just go, ha! What an amazing fight. And, Red Devil is going to come back, but let's hope he does some improvements, which we might be able to hear about. And Bombshell goes through.
Yeah, definitely. If Bombshell's weapon keeps going, that's a very different fight.
Yeah. Definitely.
Because the difficulty of driving a vertical spinning robot would probably have caused Red Devil to be able to get around him and actually get some proper...
Definitely. But do you know what I think? Also, I'm going to say this is my favourite configuration for Bombshell. I've chosen it.
Yeah?
It looks cool. It's a beast. Obviously, there's a battery problem with it, but that can be easily sorted out. I love it.
Cool. So the fourth fight was Bronco
vs Razorback.
Now, if I was building a robot and it had any flat edges on it, do you know what I put on there?
A nice little rib.
A little nipple. A little nipple. So that it can't just stand up on that.
Now, do you know
edge.
what? We've often had this in BattleBots, and I'm going to call it the kickstand. It's when you get flipped up and you go donk, and you just a perfect kickstand, like you've just got off your bike.
Yeah.
Remember your BMX?
You've never had one. I had a road bike instead.
If you'd had a BMX...
Well, I had a mountain bike before that.
That's
never a BMX, though.
But if you... sometimes you could put, like, a kickstand on it, cycle down the ramp, sling it out, and instead of just chucking it on the ground, you flick that little aluminium... down.
Yeah, like a sprung... Yeah, I know what it is.
And it's looking awesome because it's standing up on its own. But not for a robot, because it just makes you look foolish.
Well, it wouldn't be foolish if you could get off your kickstand.
Exactly. But you haven't got any option to do anything because you're stuck.
No. If he could move his little parts independently.
Yes, but he can normally, but not in this configuration because he had the drum on, didn't he?
You needed to think that through, didn't he?
But obviously we've talked about, and obviously now we know that Bronco won, but I know that you love Bronco.
So Bronco in this fight. So he got driven over by Razorback, and then he just Little punched him with his flipper.
You love
Little
that punch move. I know that you've loved a punch bot for ages.
I want a punch
And
bot.
I know that when you watched this, you were so excited. You went, did you see that? You punched him. He actually punched him. Get off me. Poof, like that. It is an awesome move, isn't it?
It's like swatting a fly.
It's like, it goes boom, like that, and just knocks him off.
I like it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to build a punch bot one day.
Okay.
It's going to happen.
Pneumatic punch bot.
Yeah. It's going to be called Great British Pounder.
Pounder. Just call it Pounder.
That's what they'll call it. But its full name, its full title will be the Great British Pounder.
Or you could call it Grinder.
Why?
I'm not sure. You could get sponsored by that app,
But it's not a grinder.
couldn't you?
It's a puncher.
Yeah, right then. Okay.
Doesn't make sense.
Pounder. Punchy. Mr. Punchy.
I did think about having a grinding robot, actually.
Well, it just polishes you off.
No, have you ever seen that machine that eats everything on YouTube?
Yes. And
With the-
that
with the
robot.
grinding
That
things.
robot already exists.
Does it?
Yes.
Is it good?
It did exist, but I think Mr. John Findlay has it, and I think he took it apart. Anyway, where did we go from? How did we get from there?
Punching about
robot.
ways back, the punchiness.
The punchiness. So I know that you loved that. You were so excited about the punching. And when I had to rewind it, you rewound it, I watched it, and I agree, it is an amazing move. Now, I want to talk about Bronco for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some controversy about Bronco. Did you know there's two Broncos?
That's fine.
But did you know they're different?
Slightly.
Yeah, but do you have a problem with that?
Not really.
I don't have at all. I think, do you know what? Amazing skills from the Bronco team.
As long as they don't look entirely different.
No, they look very similar to each other.
I think it is a bit... There will be a time where they will put a stop to that.
I think...
I'm predicting that now. There will be a time when they put a stop to that. Because it's very reminiscent of Formula One. When there was kind of, unrestricted spending. They were having third cars that were built up in case someone crashes.
Right, yeah.
And then, the best teams, Ferrari can do that all day. But the minnows down the pits, they can't afford to have a third robot or a second robot
No.
just ready to go. So they'll definitely put an end to that at some point. And I think there'll be a restriction on, separate weapon modules, that sort of thing. And that'll all have to be thought about at some point.
Possibly, yeah. So
Definitely. It's not possibly, it's definite.
Okay, you've called it. It will need sorting out at some point, because I think that at some point you'll unbalance the whole system.
At some point, someone's going to turn up with a van full of robots.
Yeah, like 6 or 7 of them. We'll just keep putting a new one in all the time, and you got a brand new robot every time. And part of it is rebuilding in the pits, I think. I do advocate 2 robots at least.
They'll put an end to that.
We'll see.
Or they'll put an end to having 2 fully built robots there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
So that was the 4 fights.
Yeah.
Jerome's out, unfortunately. And he got beaten.
He did.
Shall we hear from him a bit more?
Yeah, let's hear
about
from
his future plans and what he thought of BattleBots.
I'm excited to hear about that.
Jerome, come on, tell us about your stuff.
So, what's been the best thing about being on BattleBots for you?
I think the best thing about being on BattleBots is my son respects me as a robot builder again. There was a period of time where I mostly build robots to challenge myself design-wise and to make fun parts, while I'm building the robot. I actually like that part more than the competing part of the process.
It definitely looks like that on this robot, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of how my philosophy is. And so I don't historically do that well in tournaments. I usually take too many risks, do too many weird things, and the robot just is terrible. It looks really pretty, but it's just terrible at the end of the day. And so my son, is getting a little bit older. He just turned 5, and he's starting to notice that I don't win very many matches. So he didn't want to be on my team, when I first approached him. And so I kind of had to convince him, that it's okay to not win and stuff like that, but he didn't believe it. And so after the first season of BattleBots, I didn't get on there. That furthered the problem of him not believing in me. And he's like, "Dad, why aren't you on the show? Isn't this what you do?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is sometimes."
He's like, Dad, can you put me in touch with Ray Billings?
Yeah, well, Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor is actually his favorite robot.
Oh,
and
okay,
Shaman,
cool.
Shaman in particular. And so we, in our application video, actually for BattleBots, we were talking to Gage, and we're asking him, my son Gage, and we said, "What's your favorite robot?" And he screamed, "Shaman!" And we're like, "So if we fought Shaman, who would win?" He's like, "Well, Shaman would."
Just Shaman.
And we asked him why he liked Shaman so much, and it's because Shaman's a mini bot and he's a mini person, so
nice.
he relates to Shaman. But so he was pretty excited actually when we beat Witch Doctor, though. He thought that was an unbeatable robot. Tombstone was the only one. I mean, Bronco did too, but I think he'd forgiven Witch Doctor for that too. So after we beat him, Gage wasn't at the tournament till the last day, but we called him and told him that we won and everything, and he was super excited about that. So that was probably my favorite thing about the whole thing.
I mean, what more could you want?
Yeah, I've got to live with him every day, so respect is a nice thing to have from him.
Just like, son, eat your cereal. And he's like, no, you can't even beat Witch Doctor. See,
Exactly.
now.
I'm glad it went the way it went.
That's amazing.
This is something that's lasting forever. Yeah. Well, at least until next time I build a crappy robot.
Until season 3.
And lose it again. Yep.
So speaking of season 3, what are your plans? Are you going to do much to Red Devil, or?
I think that we're happy with the center. I mean, with the dry pods, excuse me, on Red Devil. And I think that the center body needs a complete revamp. And so I think that's what we'll focus on. We actually went through all our spares and rebuilt. And so we basically have 2 perfectly good sets of tread pods right now.
Yeah.
And so we want to just focus on the body. And so that's, if season 3, comes around and we get selected to be on it again, we're going to take the things we learned from the matches that we lost.
Yeah.
And make the body better. So we're going to stay with the same concept, though.
Yeah. Same weapons, do you think?
I think exact same weapons. I think we may add a flamethrower to it. We found a couple little cubic inches of space in that body that we can stuff a little tank in, and so
everyone
I really
seems to be fitting them on there these days.
I know if you don't have one, it's almost disappointing now. I think everybody's like, "Where's the flames?" I think our robot actually could use it fairly effectively, though. It'd be pretty cool to have the flame shooting, kind of where the saw is, so we can grab somebody and turn the flame on and then start cutting at the same time.
That could be cool, actually.
So having a clamper robot actually opens up flamethrowers and saws to be effective.
So he does it all for the respect of a 5-year-old child.
And I'm completely on the same page as him for that, because I have a similar problem, having not won a televised fight. And
Have you not won a televised fight?
Not yet, no, not yet. And there's still time. And a couple of weeks' time, there'll be some time. So, but my daughter, she does worry about that. And I know that you've seen me lose a few fights.
I've seen you lose a fair few fights, and they weren't even televised.
However, you weren't there when I did win fights.
I've never seen you win a fight.
Exactly, but I have won.
Robot or otherwise.
So I do understand that completely, and it is I'm completely on the same page as him for that.
And also, you kind of think you're like him in the way that you build a cool robot that looks good.
That doesn't always function.
It doesn't always function as intended.
No, I'm completely on the same page as him with that one, and
but I think he's got more of a claim to that than you have.
He definitely has, but the same person is Mr. Will Bales. He has that as well, where you want to build something awesomely cool, but it has a lot of vulnerability because of that, and you don't really want to. Because do you know what? If I wanted to build a robot that was going to be a destructor, I would build a box and put a drum on the front of it, like Minotaur, because that's an easy build. That's an easy thing to build,
but not to perfect.
No. I think we've over here we've perfected them as well on the smaller version, so we could definitely do that here, and that would be. But for me, I would see that as I would be so annoyed looking at it all the time.
Yeah.
I would just be, because it's a bit boring eventually. It does, when it fights, it's amazing, but otherwise it sits on. When I look at Sabretooth, and I don't normally talk about Sabretooth, when I look at Sabretooth in its bedroom up in the house, I go in there with it sometimes, and I look at it and go, "You are a fest. You're a beauty. You're beauteous." And I touch it on the drum.
Not on the drum.
Straight on the drum.
That's his head, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't go and fiddle around the back very much.
Don't touch the scoop.
But It's got a little hole in it. But I actually go and I am excited to look at it all the time. And that's what I think is most important in a robot.
I bet if you've got Razor or Warhead in your house,
you
go and have a look at it.
You'd be constantly rubbing it, wouldn't you? You know those bronze statues that get out in parks and the bits of it are really shiny?
Mm-hmm.
I bet Warhead and Razor have got those shiny sections.
Yeah.
I bet they have where you kind of just rub the little edge of it. Oh, yeah.
What about...
And then someone goes, are you coming to bed? Yeah, just a minute.
just want to see my robot.
I just want to check it's all right. And then you rub that little section again. Dirty.
What about if you own blacksmith? I think blacksmith is kept in a, like, kind of inside an enclosure and it can't get out.
You're right.
And it's just always kind of...
It's always going for you.
Like,
you go away, man! You've got to put a chair into it. Alan had to get rid of that desk the other day, didn't he? So he's probably used parts of it to keep blacksmith back. Hasn't been fed. Feed it. What? It's just like gets so furious, and you've gone.
He just throws in one of those Gemini bots,
and it just bashes it, and then he's gone, and then he has to play some harp music for it to calm down. Oh, that's what happens there. I don't know about that.
I don't know how Al keeps it. Really.
He's a very calm person.
Yeah.
He just got a level head.
He knows how to calm the blacksmith.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So weird.
You're so weird.
Thanks, Jerome. And that was an amazing thing. And
thanks, Jerome. We did have some problems with the end of Jerome's interview.
Yes.
We got some crackliness. It was a bit of a balls up on our part.
That's because our equipment lacks any finesse. We need to get some new equipment. So anyway, can you fill in the bit for Jerome?
Jerome, thank you so much for coming on.
Yep.
And I did ask him if he wanted to thank a sponsor, and he did reply, but that's all crackly. He wanted to thank My Lifter Inc., which is the company that sponsors him.
Definitely. That would be the reason why he wants to thank them.
And they make little smartphone-controlled lifting things.
Nice.
So if you want to lift a bike to the top of your garage or whatever, you put it on that, you get your smartphone out and you go, lifty lift.
That sounds awesome.
Sounds pretty handy.
So My Lifter Inc. goes in a garage, connected to your smartphone, lifts stuff up.
Yeah, but we're not actually trying to sell it for him, but that's what they do.
That's part of it. That's great. So there you go, My Lifter Inc. In the sponsor and the other sponsorships, MPC Robotics, excellent.
There are sponsorships though, and they're not even our sponsorships.
No,
I don't see any of this.
Nor do I. Wranglebox.com.
Stop it. No, they're not sponsors. If they're not sponsoring us, you don't mention them. Stop it.
Yeah, but we're
no.
Grease. They send stickers.
I haven't seen any stickers.
Okay, I'll bring them in next week.
You're a liar.
I'm not a liar. They've got stickers.
All right.
They're there.
Well,
anyway,
if we get a sponsor, we'll thank them. But at the moment, no sponsors. Okay.
What about BattleBots sponsoring us? That would be cool. What happens next?
So what happens next is we talk about the questions that we've been sent in.
We got some questions. So first of all, but this question, there was a comment. I made a mistake in the last podcast.
Okay.
But it was a Robot Wars podcast, so can we talk about it?
A little bit.
So basically, I said, this is what happened to Foxy.
Right, that's enough.
No, actually, because I said, this is what happened to Foxy, and it was Ray Bidding's fault. But apparently, that event happened after the Robot Wars event.
So you've lied to everyone.
I've not lied, because it was Kerry. Kerry sent the comment in.
Kerry lied?
No, Kerry was the one who corrected me. And he said it happened after, and he was incredulous. And that made me furious with him, actually. I got a bit angry with him.
Well,
right?
I think you did point out it was your opinion.
I didn't say that it...
You didn't say it was fact.
No, but also...
I'm a bit furious with you now because I've repeated that as fact to a friend.
Yeah, but can I finish?
Okay.
Right, what Kerry and your mate don't understand, and you don't understand, is time slippage. So I'm going to maintain that did happen before Robot Wars because of time slippage. Don't question me on it. That's what it is.
Excellent.
There's a time slip happened there.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that.
So
now can we have that crazy question?
That's the crazy ball robot question. I love this question. Thank you to... It's not Kurt, it's the other guy. Nick. So he sent in... We asked for some crazy bot ideas, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, ages ago.
Ages ago.
What did he say?
And he sent in a bot idea. He said, I had an idea for a very unique bot weapon.
Go on then.
A giant ball robot that moves by having a frame with wheels that run against the inside of the outer sphere shell. The bottom of the inner frame would have a giant counterweight in the bottom so that wheels would tilt the weight and cause the ball to roll.
So BB-8. Is he making BB-8? That's what it sounds like to me.
This is where the weapon comes in.
Oh, okay.
The counterweight is on a giant pneumatic piston which can jump the entire spherical robot into the air to come back down and body slam the opponent like a cannonball. Think of it like a full body hammer. It would nearly be impossible to aim, but if it landed a hit, it would be pure awesome. A bot with sphere armor would also be really hard to land a hit on, being practically indestructible.
It does sound like a crazy idea for a robot, and it does sound like BB-8 to be honest, but the jumping part I like.
Also, there was a sphere robot before.
Were there?
I've seen in Robot Wars, old Robot Wars, America Robot Wars.
Yeah.
There was a rolling sphere robot, and the robot it was against was a giant net.
I do remember that one actually.
And
so
I can't remember either of their names, but it definitely exists as a fight somewhere, and I'm going to link it.
But does it jump up in the air and body slam the opponent?
I don't think there was any body slam. That is an innovation.
I always worry about people calling a bot practically indestructible, because when you say it's practically indestructible,
Because that one scenario where it can be destroyed will occur.
Exactly, and it's like the Titanic. If you say it's unsinkable, it's going to sink, isn't it? So you shouldn't say that about it. But I do like it. Anyone else want to comment on a different type of robot? That's the first one we've had of a different type. So
I had an idea.
Go on then.
It was a jumping spider bot with a pneumatic drill in the bottom.
Okay.
So it jumps on top of it, grips it with its legs, and then just
that
pummels
sounds
it.
dirty. That's a really dirty robot. Is it? It's just like, oh no, this is a family show. You can't have that, can you?
It's not a family show. It's going to look explicit.
It's going to discuss. No, BattleBots.
Oh, okay.
You can't get on top. You can't get on top of another robot and start humping it.
We look a bit humpy.
Little Johnny's going to go, hey, mommy, what's the robot doing to the other robot? And it's like,
Team, don't look.
don't look at me coming up your eyes. That's how Transformers are made. It's dirty. We're not having that sort of sex.
If they do a
robot.
late night battle,
I don't want your disgusting sex robots ever again. In fact, you've soured this whole area now. I'm furious with it. I don't want to do it.
Should we stop and sanitise and then carry on?
Let's sanitise and carry on.
Okay.
What have we got to look forward to?
Nothing. We got to look forward to a question from Kurt.
Woohoo! Kurt again. He's coming up with questions all the time.
He's like, back to your US versus UK talk. I don't think we were ever versus, but
we've never done.
We talk about the differences. If we ran BattleBots, what would be changed? This is a difficult question to answer.
Well, if we
so
ran,
me and you, we run our own robot tournament.
By the way, it's you and I.
Well, whatever.
Thank you. Okay.
We run our own robot fighting tournament.
BattleBots. If we ran BattleBots, is what he's saying. What would we change?
Well, I think there'd be a pit.
You'd want to put a pit in?
No, I wouldn't want to change anything about the layout of anything. I would make sure that everything had a decent weapon.
Can I say what I would do?
I'd widen the bracket.
Do you know what I would do?
I'd make it crazy.
Do you know what I would do?
Go on.
I would get Greg and Trey.
Okay.
I'd sit them in a room.
Okay.
And I'd say, you guys, can you be the executive producers?
Hang on. All right.
And then I'd say, do me season 3, and what are your ideas?
Hang on.
What?
You're just saying what they did.
No, season 3. I'm doing the new one.
Okay, so you've commissioned another season. That's the only thing you're changing, is that there's a season 3.
Yeah, and then getting them to do the same thing.
Well, I would say it is pretty perfect.
I love it. I love BattleBots because it is an amazing show, and I get so excited. It makes me furious. It makes me it makes me well up. It makes me proud. What more can you want from a show?
Now, we've touched on it today. I tighten up the regulations around multiple bots in the pits.
Okay, so you tighten up some regulations on the pits.
It'd be a lot tighter ship if I was running it.
I don't think no, because I know that
in terms of regulations.
I
mean, nothing would run to schedule if I was running it.
No, that's why we wouldn't want you to do.
There'd be a podcast, an official podcast.
So what you'd say,
I'd be in charge of it.
So what you'd say is, You tighten up the regulations.
And then I'd make everyone else, like, I'd hire other people to do the hard bits, yeah.
Yeah, forget about that. So your thing is you tighten up the regulations.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I think I would agree with you, but I'd want to form a committee.
Nothing ever gets done by committee, though.
I'd get Greg to announce stuff, I would get Trey to second it, and then it would all be carried. So it'd be done. That's how you do it. Quality committee. So that's how I do it. And then I would do the same thing. I wouldn't change it. I love it.
Awesome.
Smashing.
Great.
But no, it takes me on a roller coaster. It makes me uneasy the day before it's coming on if I know who's fighting. So I just love
Especially
it.
if it's Warhead. Well, I feel like anything from Warhead was a bonus because I wasn't sure what would happen against Complete Control.
Yes. So okay. Right. Yeah. I know, and you're right. I don't know, but I was amazing. No, that's all. I wouldn't do anything, Kurt. So I'll change it. Keep it as it is.
Thanks for your questions.
That's
Kurt,
awesome.
Nick, Kerry, sent in a comment.
But what I would say here is, let's have some more comments, questions.
Some more
Please send them in. Email them to
insidethebot@gmail.com.
or grab us on Twitter or on Facebook, Inside the Bot. Not difficult to find. We'd love to hear from you, and that would be really awesome.
It would be great. We're back on Tuesday.
Yes.
For our Robot Wars episode.
Yes.
Obviously, we won't be back for BattleBots until probably the 27th.
So we're going to have a rest. We're going to do one episode a week, which will be Robot Wars, and then we'll be going forward from there. But also, you guys, if you've got any ideas for shows for when this hiatus of BattleBots and Robot Wars finishes, and you'd like us to cover something, please send that idea in as well.
Otherwise, it would just be 9 months of us talking
rubbish,
complete nonsense.
We've got some ideas, obviously, but we'd love to hear if you want us to cover anything.
I've had some ideas.
You've always got ideas,
You've got no ideas.
You've got that really weird armpit again. It's really sweaty. Just
my right armpit always sweats.
You need to go to a doctor about that. I'm sure there's something wrong with it. I don't know. It could be a problem.
Maybe I've been overspraying my left. Sweat can't get out of it.
Hang on a second. Are you right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
That's what it is. Anyway, let's finish.
That's getting cut out.
No, it's not.
We can't talk about my sweaty right armpit.
That's all staying in there.
We've got to save that when we've got the BattleBots to talk about. Then we can talk about all the armpit sweat we want.
Right then.
Bloody hell.
So, finish.
Thanks a lot for listening. I've been Will Sedgwick.
I'm Big Gabe.
And this has been Inside the Bot.